What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Monday stream. Well, normally this is a stream. Today it's going to be a video. The Wi-Fi here at Disney World is unsuitable for streaming, so I'm going to record this. If you're actually watching this on YouTube, welcome. This is our first video of the daily content on YouTube. So do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you're watching us over there on the YouTube channel. With that, what we're going to do is I'm just going to do as I normally do on Monday, kind of just recap what's going on in the NBA since we last were paying attention to it. As I know I am from time to time, most of you guys get locked into football and you don't really pay attention to Saturday and Sunday injury news. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the injury situations here and kind of see who can get the extra minutes in these situations. So first, Atlanta Hawks, Evan Turner is out or doubtful with a hamstring. This doesn't really change a whole lot. He just plays a couple minutes each game. They'll just give him the Vince Carter. So no real change here for Atlanta. Next up is the Chicago Bulls. Zach LaVine is on the probable. The Bulls just listed as everyone is probable here. So I don't see any real injury news here as well for the Bulls. They play Atlanta, so good matchup for... they play the Magic, so not that great of a matchup. Cleveland gets Atlanta today, so this is a team we're going to want to pay attention to. Pace up spot. Larry Nance is questionable with that left sore knee. So if he was to sit, obviously the biggest winners would be John Henson. He would be turned into the third big, and so they would probably play some Henson and... I guess they could play Henson and Love, but I suspect they would play they wouldn't play any Henson Thompson, so maybe Kevin Porter, also a winner there as well, play some small ball 4. I don't think it's going to really adjust the fantasy point per minutes, but let's just take a quick look at it. I updated this new version of Firefox today, and it's making me redo all my passwords and stuff. And I need dark mode immediately. Dark mode on. Alright, so let's look at the Cleveland Cavaliers with Nance off the floor. Looks like it's mostly the same. Let's just see if there's any big differences here. Thompson 1.04, Love 1.16. Guess I'll give him a slight boost to 1.14. But he's still going to be a really good play regardless. Everything else looks about the same. So, as you can see, there's some good Cavalier value options here. Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson, Jordan Clarkson, John Henson, all grading out as pretty solid plays for me today. All right, next team on the list to cover, the Denver Nuggets. So, Denver Nuggets injury news, nothing. So, that's nice to see. Denver's been a pretty injured team so far this season, and none of them are going to pop because they're all healthy. Oh, this is interesting. Why is this still there? This shouldn't be. Remove that. Next up is Detroit. Detroit's pretty injury depleted at this point, so let's just kind of take a look at their situation. Blake Griffin is questionable with an illness. Derrick Rose, questionable with a knee. And Luke Kennard is questionable with knee soreness. Obviously, this is going to be pretty big news to pay attention to, because if a team's missing 3 rotation players, there's going to be a lot of guys that take over. So let's just first look at what happens when Blake Griffin's the only one that misses. So we'll just go ahead and take Griffin off the floor, and I'll put Drummond on the floor just so we avoid garbage time. So we see Drummond checks in at 1.3. Derrick Rose checks in at 1.14. Oh, I have to take Wood off the floor. Wood is absolutely off the floor. He's out, so let me do that too. So Drummond checks in at 1.3. Rose at 1.1. Kennard at 0.9. Guess I could take Reggie Jackson off the floor, but whatever. I don't think it's going to change that much, but let me do it anyways. So Markieff Morris, 0.77. Kennard. Really everyone's just kind of about the same. Now, what's going to happen if I take off Rose is Drummond's everyone just kind of stays mediocre. Not much of a surprise there. And if I take off Kennard, we're in super small sample size and everyone's just kind of doing the same. So there really isn't any big usage winners here. So it's all going to be about the minutes, projecting out the minutes. So this is something to keep your eye on for sure. I definitely am going to be keeping my eye on this one. Matchup against Philly is really tough. Very good defensive team. So unless like all these guys are missing, I'm really going to try to avoid this situation as a situation that I want to be attacking for value. Ideally, I'd like to find something with a little more pace in the game, and there's some high total games on this slate. So unless like 3 or 4 Detroit guys start getting missing from the rotation, I'm going to try to avoid playing these value options today. But it's definitely possible. You know, it's the last game before Christmas. They don't play Christmas. Like, if they take off today, they'll basically get, like, 4 days off. So my general rule on this slate is that if you're questionable today, I rule you out. Because I just, unless you're playing on Christmas, and even if you're playing on Christmas, you got to get 2 days off for the price of 1. So, but especially if you're not playing on Christmas, then you get, like, 4 days off. So for me, it's always a situation where if you're questionable for this game, I normally try to just mentally rule you out. Next up, we've got the Golden State Warriors hosting Minnesota. Minnesota's a pretty bad defensive team. Glenn Robinson III is questionable, so we'll have to see what's going on there. Eric Paschall, he's questionable. He got a full practice in after tweaking his knee. I'm going to probably rule him in. Kai Bowman's still in the G League, and Curry's still coming back in February. So really this is about Glenn Robinson III here. So if we go to the Golden State Warriors, and I put D'Angelo Russell on the floor, because obviously the usage rates would be totally whack when he was missing. And I take off Steph Curry, and I take off Glenn Robinson III. We'll see that Alec Burks is the big winner. Marquise Chris was the big winner because a lot of these minutes occurred without Draymond on the floor. So Willie Cauley-Stein, a decent winner. So it's been a lot of the big guys that have been doing well in these minutes. And, of course, Alec Burks would just get more minutes. So there's not really this dramatic point-per-minute boost for anyone. So it'll just for me, we'll be looking at the minutes. So we'll have to see what those look like. Obviously, there'd be definitely more minutes for Jacob Evans and Jordan Poole if Glenn Robinson misses. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Damian Lee, 34 minutes. That seems a little ambitious. So I might have to change these minutes around a little bit. But certainly 34 minutes is in play if Glenn Robinson III misses. All right, next team on our list is the Houston Rockets, and this is an interesting situation. We've got Clint Capella questionable. Oh, he's probable. Excellent. Even better. And Eric Gordon, I haven't seen anything about, so I'm going to assume he's still out. So, again, we've got the full Houston Rockets team going into Sacramento. James Harden, obviously the best play on the board, but, you know, for Houston, you kind of know what you're getting. Don't think there's going to be really any sort of surprise here. They got lower those Gary Clark minutes, though. Those feel a little bit high. And then I'll go to Ben McLemore. All right, next team on the list is the Indiana Pacers. They are taking on Toronto. So Jeremy Lamb, I'm going to rule as questionable. Again, anyone who's questionable and it's not playing on Christmas, I just mentally rule them out. I don't think they're going to play much very often in this spot. So it looks like what the minutes guy I steal my initial projections from did as well. I think this is a little bit high for Aaron Holiday though. Let me just go look at the Pacers fantasy points per minute. So Brogdon on and Lamb off. Aaron Holiday is a .62 fantasy point per minute guy, so this is high. I'm going to lower him into the .73 range because I acknowledge he'll get some minutes with no Brogdon on the floor. But everything else looks about right. So bonus 1.22. Brogdon 1.2. I guess I can give Brogdon a nice little boost here. But this is a tough matchup against Toronto, so he's not going to really pop regardless. So it looks like Indiana's pretty simple and straightforward. Next team on the list, the Memphis Grizzlies, one of the fastest teams in the league. Giannis Valanciunas is questionable. He sat out Saturday. And Jaren Jackson Jr. had a good game. So let's just take a look at what Memphis looks like with Jonas Valanciunas off the floor. I guess it really doesn't matter who the point guard is. So let me go ahead and get to Memphis. Take Jonas Valanciunas off the floor. And the biggest winners, Brandon Clark, Jaren Jackson Jr., John Morant is at 1.2. I suspect that's a lot higher than his season average. So if Jonas misses, this definitely will lead to a boost for John Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Brandon Clark's minutes will go up. And in this spot against the San Antonio front court, those guys have become pretty good plays pretty quickly. So there's no other real big boost. So it's just those big front court guys. So if we get news that Jonas is missing, that will definitely be one that I will adjust pretty quickly. Miami at Utah, I just can't imagine this is going to be a game that matters. And Miami's healthy. Utah plays slow, so I'm not going to waste my time on it. Minnesota at Golden State. We're still dealing with that Karl-Anthony Towns questionable game. Again, it looks like Towns will miss. In that scenario, if Towns misses, let's just take a look at who the big winners are. So Andrew Wiggins, Jeff Teague is a fantasy point per minute player. Gorgie James a point per minute player. So kind of just a lot of this guys leading the same other than Jeff Teague boost to a fantasy point per minute. Again, this is a nice spot against the Warriors. They're pretty bad defensively against all the positions. So I'd have some interest here, but the prices are starting to get to the point where they're kind of compensated for Towns being out. But given not a whole ton of superstar value yet, I don't hate attacking Minnesota, especially if Glenn Robinson misses and you're gonna fire up some Warriors, then I definitely don't mind using some of this Minnesota value as well. Pelicans traveling to Portland. They're pretty healthy, so kind of what you see is what you get. Brandon Ingram can break any slate, of course, and so can Jrue Holiday. But that's really about it, and that seems really high for Derek Favors minutes. I'll double check that later, but that feels way too high for Derek Favors. The New York Knicks. So Wayne Ellington is out. Marcus Morris is doubtful, and Taj Gibson's questionable. So those are three guys that have been in the rotation for a bit here. So the big winner, of course, is going to be Kevin Knox, but I'll just show you. Instead of just assuming, I will show you my work. So Kevin Knox in the season is 0.72 fantasy points per minute. If I take Marcus Morris off the floor, he pops up to, where is Kevin Knox? 0.77. And then if I take Taj Gibson off the floor, that will even help some more. Actually, it hurts, 0.73, but he's going to get a big minutes boost here against a good team, a good matchup against the Washington Wizards. Everyone scores against the Washington Wizards, so I'm going to go ahead and rule out Morris, and I'll rule out Taj Gibson as well. Right now, I've only got Kevin Knox projected at 18 minutes. That feels extremely low to me. I suspect this is going to be closer to 28 to 29 when I'm done with it. Actually, you know what? We haven't done a minutes projection yet. Let's do one. So we've got the New York Knicks here. Their last game was on the 21st. And Marcus Morris played in this game. And Kevin Knox was still on pace for 8. So he was going to play 17 minutes regardless. The idea that he's not going to steal more of Marcus Morris's minutes is pretty insane. He's kind of like the last natural 3 on the team. Him and Morris, I think, split the full 48. So for me, I could see Kevin Knox playing 32, 33 minutes. So that's one where I definitely think I'm going to be very high on the minutes. The Wizards can play small, so I guess that's an option. But again, if Kevin Knox can play stretch 4, if Taj is out, that's even more of a benefit. That's not even going to hurt him. So I'm a big fan here of Kevin Knox against the Wizards. I suspect that's not going to be a hot take, but I do like him a lot in this spot. Okay, the Orlando Magic against the Chicago Bulls. Nikola Vucevic is back, so we kind of just look at the Magic on-off with Vuce. So let's just pull up the Orlando Magic. Let's plug in Vuce. And he's been at 1.22 fantasy points per minute this season, so I could adjust him down a little bit here in the model. But at this price against the Bulls, he's going to be a pretty good option. Bulls pretty awful against centers. This is a slightly paced-up game for the Magic, so I think Vuce is pretty interesting. But all the other guys will just get decreases here. Jonathan Isaac is basically worthless when those two guys are healthy. He's the guy I have to manually update every day because he was awesome with one of them out, but with they're both healthy, he's just pretty bad. Next up, the Philadelphia 76ers, a team that's been hurt the entire season, finally getting a little bit healthy. Thybulle's out, Embiid's questionable with an illness. The Philadelphia illness thing. I think I did. I'm not sure if I mentioned this on stream on Friday. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I think it was the Dunk Tank podcast. And if it was Zach Lowe, I apologize. Where they were talking about Philly and how they have way more illnesses than the rest of the league. And ever since I noticed that, I was like, wait a minute. There's always someone on the Philly injury report with illness. So I actually think he sits here. Looks like some load management heading into the Christmas Day game. That would be my take. So I'm going to project him out. So obviously, if you project him out, these guys are all about a sub fantasy point per minute. But if I projected Embiid out, you can all see they all go to above a fantasy point per minute. Tobias Harris 1.17, Al Horford 1.13, Ben Simmons 1.03. So there's definitely some big winners there as well. Things to note too, if he sits, Norvell Pele was playing over Kyle O'Quinn. Now I don't know if they sent him back to the G League or not, because the G League showcase was this last week, so I'm very curious to see if they sent him back. Yeah, so he's still up there. So he's above Kyle O'Quinn. So if he sits, don't get caught in that trap. It's still going to be Pele over Kyle O'Quinn. I'm not sure people... I'm sure some people got burned by it on that Sunday slate, but just an FYI. It's Norvell Pele is playing over Kyle O'Quinn. Okay. That's the Philly. Let's see what's next. Phoenix, Portland, and San Antonio. All right. Phoenix. Oh my God, that's a lot of injuries. So we've got Ayton. He's out. Rubio, questionable. Kaminsky, probable. Sarge, probable. Okay, so we've got Baines back. Let's just kind of see what the Suns have been doing. I gotta admit, I don't think I've played a slate with the Suns on them in a while. So Baines started. Baines played 32 minutes. Okay, so but that was obviously against a big traditional center in Capella. But this matchup against Denver, they've got Jokic. So yeah, I think he'll play as many minutes as he can here. Was Sarge in foul trouble here? No, he was just bad, and they went small. They went to a Kobo. So they closed with Cameron Johnson over Sarge. But, Sarge sometimes has good games and bad games, so that's not really too much to note. The other thing to note is Kaminsky was out, basically. Kaminsky was in the rotation. I was looking at the Diallo line. So he looks like he's still in the rotation here. So nothing to get too all worked up about. But just something I wanted you to note as well. Okay. Obviously, if Rubio misses, you'll get the Okobo minutes you got here, right? So he played 28. Tyler Johnson played some bench minutes, but basically it was all Ty Jerome and Okobo at the guards. So just something to keep your eye on there as well. Next up is Portland. This is another team I actually want to look at the minutes on because I assume Carmelo Anthony is questionable for this game. Let's take a peek. Yeah. So Melo's questionable. Hazonia will be available, but he just doesn't ever play. And then the other injuries we know about. So Tolliver started, and Scalabissier finished. Seems pretty common sense to me. They played a little, Nasir little, but basically it was all as much Anthony Tolliver and Scalabissier eating up all the minutes there at the four. Would expect that to continue. This matchup against New Orleans too, in particular, is definitely one where I think they would like to do that. Carmelo would be a really nice play if he could play today, but again, if you're questionable on this slate, I just mentally rule you out because the teams have so much incentive to not play you. So I always try to rule out a player on this particular slate if they're questionable. Spurs, they're all healthy. Derek White and DeJounte Murray have played 6 minutes since the last time we talked together, so there's some progress. I think we're up to 13 minutes on the season now, but there's nothing there of note. Toronto, Fred VanVleet, it looks good. He'll play. Interesting. Looks like he played really bad on Sunday, and there was some continuing knee soreness. Again, that's interesting. He's not. I don't know if he's listed on the official Toronto Raptors injury report. Obviously, if he sits, then we're back to just total jam in Toronto. Sacramento. Looks like they finally shortened the rotation too with Bogdan out. Didn't realize they were on the slate. So if Bogdan sits against the Rockets, it's a pace-up spot. Pretty tight rotation. So Sacramento. Remember I was talking about I wanted to find some better value than Detroit. I would much rather play these Sacramento guys in the 4Ks playing big minutes against Houston than I would playing big minutes against Philly. Although that defense does get worse if Embiid sits. So Detroit might not be as bad as I thought at first glance as well. We're just going to have to wait and see here on Toronto. The prices are up on everyone except the OG, Hollis Jefferson, McCaw, Terrence Davis. So, the guards are super cheap. So, if we get to a situation where Fred VanVleet can't go, these guards are all going to pop as good options. So, keep an eye on that. If Fred VanVleet's not on the official injury report, I won't update my projections as such, but I will have a backup set ready to go in case Fred VanVleet's out, because with a big Christmas Day game coming up, it actually might make sense for them to sit him here and get them ready for that Christmas Day game against, I think they're playing the Bucks. So, let's see. And then the last team on the slate is the Washington Wizards. Oh, I'm sorry, Utah, but Utah against Miami just has no interest to me. The thing here to note about the Washington Wizards is that they signed Gary Payton II and out of the G League, and he's going to play. So I'm going to give him the Justin Robinson minutes. I won't put him in my model because he's just not here. Just know that the minutes I'm giving Justin Robinson are really for Gary Payton II. I think what this is going to do is it's going to give Garrison Matthews less minutes than people are projecting out to be. But I wanted to make that a note because I'm not sure Admiral Schofield's going to play 33 again as well. Pretty tight rotation here, I get it. But I think people are going to overproject Garrison Matthews for minutes, so don't fall into that trap. Holy moly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many bodies is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10 bodies. Again, remember, they still have Justin Robinson, but they do have Gary Payton II as well. So they've got 10 guys. But I definitely will need to give him a point per minute projection. So, all right, that's it. That's all the games. If you are a member to the Twitch channel, if you subscribe to my channel or have a Fantasy Cruncher subscription, I post my projections every slate I play in the Siege's Corner channel in the Discord, so check that out. If you haven't checked out all our free articles at fantasycruncher.com, suggest you do that as well. I'll be around in the Discord if you guys have any questions on this video or rotations or anything like that. I'll be around, so feel free to ask questions there. And then Christmas Day slate, I'm going to post another video like this probably mid-afternoon on Tuesday, kind of a first look. I'll do all the articles late Tuesday afternoon, and then we'll do a Midnight Madness. Either I'll try to stream it on Twitch, or I'll do Periscope, one or the other. So that'll be the Christmas Day content as well. And with that, guys, keep on crunching.